let's start a conversation. Let's start a conversation about something that is so important, but often so siloed, and people just ignore it: medical misinformation. We're here to talk about doctored truths, and is digitized dependence driving doctored truths? And I think it's fair to say it probably is, because social media has changed the world that we live in, both for good and for bad. But medical misinformation on social media and the associated decay of trust in healthcare systems, both individuals and systematically, is an issue we need to address. And it is a massive and complex health problem that we can only achieve and fix from everybody in this room and the people that we go on and talk to. So we are going to need each and every one of you. Before we start, here are our disclosures. We are all, well, Vernon and I are here speaking in a personal capacity, drawing on a combined 88 years of medical, scientific, and communications experience. But we think it's really important for you to get to know the people behind the profiles. So firstly, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. In a world where there is an increasing amount of deep fake and synthetic content online, having a globally distributed, trusted network of colleagues is going to be invaluable. And with that in mind, we thought we would introduce each other. So Natasha is an accomplished medical affairs leader and professional working at Roche globally. She's a mother, a daughter, and she also describes herself as a Duracell machine.
I'm really, really sorry I can't be with you in the room today. I would love to be there in this next medical festival for this misinformation workshop. But I can introduce you to Vern. Vern is a scientist, medic, creative communications leader with wisdom and wit in equal doses. He actually founded a research organization, and he applies creativity to make impact that matters in healthcare, whether it be climate or health or countering medical misinformation, as we are here today. And he is often found wandering in the wilds.
So, Kish, his love of videography and movies has led him on a portfolio career, from social media to Sky News, through to actually leading the video and multimedia global at Bayer. He's also done some research from Hull York Medical University in terms of researching media and its impact of medical misinformation during COVID. But first up, let's just define a couple of things so we're all talking about the same topic. Specifically, three things: misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. Not all falsehoods are equal, right? Misinformation, you're massively familiar with this. It is factually incorrect, but it's shared without the intention to deceive. So we see this in patient forums, in Reddit, in Facebook, where anecdotal treatments or options are shared around as alternative therapies, right? It's just factually wrong. The second is a different beast altogether. It's disinformation. This is willful lies used for profit, to drive narratives, for changing beliefs, and it is deceitful. It is the deep fake version of a famous clinician selling a bogus drug that isn't even available, right? The third is malinformation. This is quite insidious and malicious. This is where nuggets of truth, your data sometimes, are misrepresented and taken out of context to use to infer and imply mass deaths from vaccines. You see it in various environments in terms of conspiracies, but particularly in the anti-vax environment. Now, intent is really important. We live in a digital age, and it helps us understand these things and how to counter them more effectively.
Thanks, Vernon. So I think it's really important for everybody in the room to have a clear understanding of those definitions. And it's certainly something from talking to members of the public and also healthcare professionals 15 months into COVID, in the research that I did, nobody had an idea. Okay, so let's all get on the same page and understand exactly what we're talking about. Because as you can see, and I hope you'll appreciate from some of these stats, once medical misinformation in particular gets into the social fabric, not only does it interact and interfere with the trusted doctor-patient relationship, it also causes massive healthcare problems as well. And these are 3 statistics from Dr. Truth that really stood out for me. 61% of healthcare professionals felt that as a result of medical misinformation, there was a loss of trust between them and their patients. 22% of patients almost having sharer's remorse or sharer's regret, sharing information that they thought was true, trying to help other people and other patients, and then found out actually it was false. And the human impact aside, from whether it be the provider or the patient perspective of the consultation, the actual financial harm is massive. So in COVID alone, between 50 and 300 million US dollars harm per day caused. So if those statistics do not make us sit up and think, what are we going to do about it? I'm not really sure what will. And let's dig a little bit deeper into this. So social media algorithms reward engagement, not accuracy, okay? And there's 3 big buckets here that I want you to focus on: shareability, echo chambers, and continued influence effect. A recent study by 3 MIT scholars has shown once again that false news spreads more rapidly than real news, 6 times faster, in fact. And also fake news is 70% more likely to be shared than true stories or news segments or articles or whatever. And it is then it takes true stories about 6 times as long to reach the same number of people as fake stories. And sadly, if that wasn't bad enough, I've got some more bad news for you. Predominantly, it was humans, not bots, primarily sharing this misleading information. So it's very easy for us to almost dismiss this and say, oh, it's bots, oh, it's Twitter, oh, it's X, oh, it's whatever. It's not. It's people. People and their attention and how it's been monetized is driving real impact in doctor-patient relationships and ultimately the care that we give people. The final point, I think, on this slide is ideas do not circulate freely anymore. Everything is dependent on algorithms that will either upvote or increase or decrease and avoid. And if you look at the world, it's increasingly polarized, and that's true for medical misinformation. If you take an extreme view, like in all those clips that were showed at the beginning as we were walking in, it's far more likely to get engagement and traction. Trust has also wavered, shifting from experts to systems to strangers. Historically, trust in healthcare was local and personal. Your family doctor knew you from the cradle to the grave. Your medical history, your family. And since World War II, trust was scaled into institutions, whether that be the NHS, the World Health Organization, or various other global health institutions. They became the anchors, the voice of credibility. But recently, and predominantly driven by social media, trust has fractured, and we have been part of the problem. We've all been part of the problem, both personally and professionally, whether that be scandals such as financial crises, the opioid crisis, misinformation about HRT and women's health, worsening inequalities, and all that mass misinformation has essentially eroded the trust and confidence in traditional authorities. So what happens today? How does trust flow? It is far more on a peer-to-peer level with people that you know, people that you trust, people that you have a connection with. And that's why we implore all of you to get to know each other, to chat to each other, to connect online, offline, make the most of the breaks, because you will then go off around the world to your respective organizations and form that globally integrated, trusted network. This was a slide that I put this into, I think it was ChatGPT 5.2, and I said, plot something in terms of looking at the rate of innovation and the rate of regulation. And then, in my mind, it came up as the tortoise and hare of regulation versus innovation. And when they're out of sync, patient care and the service that we can provide our patients deteriorates, and patients do fall through the gaps. I'm not going to go into detail on this, apart from the fact that, and we can chat in the break, there's loads of examples and vaping and social media, whatever, but apart from the fact that if you think about the AIs that you are using today, They are the slowest and the dumbest they will ever be. Okay? We're about to reach almost potentially escape velocity, is one way of putting it. But the degree to which these systems are going to grow is almost incomprehensible for how they're operating and acting now. So we have to do something about it, and we have to take a proactive approach and think about how we use these tools. Don't get me wrong, they're amazing, but they need to be deployed in ways that ultimately improve patient care. And then the final slide from me before I pass back to Vernon is medical messaging in the past versus the present in terms of public health crisis. How can we make sure that we raise awareness of this before it is too late? Because in COVID and all of the comms coming out of the UK and various other countries around the world resorted to shock and awe. It resorted to scaring people into compliance. And we cannot allow the same thing to happen in terms of the advent of generative AI, more immersive worlds, social media, and all the tech that's coming. Because how far will governments and regulators go? How far should they go? And as leaders in life sciences in this room, what role will you play? So as you're considering those questions, we'd like to show you a short 2-minute video encompassing everything you need to know about Doctored Truths.
I didn't know where
to start. But I had
to know more. I typed the words
that kept
me awake. I just
wanted an answer.
anything to make sense of it. Sometimes what I found felt right. Sometimes it felt too good to be true.
That time, it was just what I was looking for.
Their posts gave me hope, something to hold on to, something to question.
Something to start a conversation. So I searched again, not really to learn, but to confirm. To find the facts that fit.
The stories I wanted to believe. The more I searched, the more I found.
The more I posted, the more it spread.
Each answer led to another question.
Each post led to another. Until it
felt
like
there was no going back.
Like. Comment. I was just following it, or maybe feeding it. Every choice, every click comes with a cost.
So, it's sobering, and it needs to be. The World Economic Forum has ranked misinformation up second for 2 years running in terms of global public health harm, right? The greatest risks we actually face. And you saw the numbers there. 80% of HCPs are seeing patients that they feel have been harmed as a result of it. And on top of that, a third of the content out in social media contains misinformation. And on some channels, that's way, way, way higher. It is not just a communication challenge. It is actually a clinical, societal imperative that we actually have to face some of these realities out there. And look, in order to understand it, there's some massive forces at play. This is a big topic, and it is not new, right? There's two major forces that have been playing out. There is a decades-long erosion in public trust in institutions, in politics, in organizations, right? And that has been deliberate and acting out for a number of different reasons. Fundamentally now, facts are not as powerful to persuade public opinions, right? Now, there's always been grifters and charlatans out there selling snake oil since time immemorial. But there's other factors at play, right? We have to face the reality that health systems are under more strain than ever before, right? Funding cuts, worker shortages, the highest rates of workforce burnout that we've ever seen since we've been measuring them. And on top of that, we're having the diagnostic odyssey. We're having poorer wait times for hospitals, for diagnosis, for care. So patients are not having their expectations met, and that is then driving distrust in the systems. These factors coming together are really a perfect storm. And look, technology. In an ideal world, AI would be there as a steward to help patients and clinicians, right? But we do not live in a perfect world. At the touch of a button, you can create industrial scale content. You can fabricate evidence. You can steal credible clinical voices, and you can do that absolutely enormously, right? And the fact of the matter is all of that content is then fed back into those engagement-driven algorithms. So you end up with this hyper-efficient cycle. And that's what can drive narratives. And these aren't just disparate bits of information, and that's why they can join them together in such massive forces. Some of our recent data showed some really interesting contradictions. 50% of patients are already using various AI and chatbots for health-related conversations, discussions, second opinions, right? But at the same time, 44% of them say they don't trust it. This is all coming to the HCP. So a third of them are actually having to deal with and unpick that challenge with the patients in front of them. And of course, not everybody is harmed in the same way. And no surprisingly, certain minority groups are harmed way more. Those people with lower health literacy are twice as likely to regret decisions made because of health misinformation. And certain conditions, particularly those that are stigmatized or there's limited treatment options, are really, really vulnerable to being exploited. And minority groups. We see statistically significantly more people taking health advice from non-credible sources and then deeply regretting it as a result.
We can't blame them either, Vernon, as well, in the sense, not that it's a word, but they find help. They find somebody that's speaking their language finally because they've interacted with systems that have almost disregarded them or dismissed them. So I think it's really important for us to remember that.
This is not about blame, it's about the reality. And they need to look for answers. We all need answers, right? And we're all patients as well as clinicians, as well as scientists. So,
if not us, then who? Misinformation will never disappear completely, but its impact can shrink dramatically. We can help people navigate uncertainty with confidence. In the end, this isn't about winning an information war, it's about doing right by patients. And that responsibility belongs to all of us. We're living in a world where false and misleading information isn't just annoying. Global experts say it's one of the top risks facing the world. That affects real people. It shakes their belief in medicine, science, and institutions. Just this month, WEF, Global Reports Risk, ranked misinformation as the second most critical short-term global risk, second only to geo-economic confrontation. Doing nothing is not an option. It translates into eroded trust, fractured communities, distorted clinical decision-making, and higher costs across healthcare systems. Now, 71% of HCPs believe pharma should play a role in helping combat this problem, yet 41% think pharma isn't doing anything. All the while, patient trust in HCPs is eroding. So there's a massive opportunity here to rebuild trust in us and in HCPs. If not now, then when? Why do we keep postponing action? Today, we want to understand what we can do and then do it. Think about the last time you felt a strange symptom, a lingering cough, or a sharp pain. What was your first instinct? For most of us, even with our medical backgrounds, it's a quick search on our phones. Now imagine doing that without a PhD or medical degree. 80% of HCPs have witnessed patients experience physical or mental harm as a direct result of misinformation. And 43% of patients report regretting a health decision they made because they acted on inaccurate information. Silence isn't neutral. When evidence stays unspoken, misinformation fills the gap. And misinformation already has 3 advantages. It fills the gaps faster than any peer review process ever could. It simplifies complex narratives into bite-sized, easy-to-digest truths. It's driven by emotional impact, while we often hide behind the cold safety of statistics. When we don't provide a proactive scientific voice, misinformation fills the narrative gap and effectively sets the standard of care in the patient's mind. We aren't just losing the conversation, we're losing the patient's trust before they even see a doctor. As scientific leaders, we have a responsibility not just to know the data, but to translate it in ways that are human, clear, and emotionally resonant. As Pharma Medical Affairs, we are the scientific bridge. On the one side, we have the complex clinical data. It's robust, but often inaccessible to the public. On the other, there's a desperate need for real-world understanding. We need to make truth faster, clearer, more human than any falsehood. We need to own the narrative. Data informs, clarity transforms.
Okay, we are all members of professional societies, right, and groups. We are governed by a set of underpinning ethics and standards, right? We need to be leaning into those and using them as a springboard to help us understand what we can and can't do. So, you've heard some of the grim realities out there, and this is about positivity, and this is about hopefulness and change. So what we are asking all of you to do is to commit a small set of acts. We're going to get a lot of people to do some small things. Collectively, we actually can do a great deal and make a great deal of difference. It's time to do things a bit differently. So we're asking you to go home and talk about this topic, to engage with it. We're going to ask you to post online and engage with it. We're asking you to join a community because we're launching an alliance against misinformation in health. It's time to turn down the misinformation side of things and do something about it. Do something about it in a way that allows facts to outperform rhetoric, to have clarity over confusion and complexity, and to have reason standing tall, right? So welcome to the Undoctored Truths Alliance. You're now informally members, right? But this is about solutions. It's really simple. There are some brilliant people doing amazing things in this space, but they're siloed, they're disparate, they're atomized. And actually, we need a rallying cry, and we need to be collectively working together, and that's what this is about. It's fundamentally a simple set of objectives to begin with. It's about uniting people, all of you and many other people who are already ready, willing, and wanting to be part of it. It's about sharing great work and amplifying what others do. It's not about taking it all on individually, it's about sharing it load, right? And aren't you all fed up with this and fed up with the situation that we're actually faced with day in, day out?
I'd love a show of hands. You're not being filmed, but can you put your hand up if you are fed up of the amount of misinformation online and social media? And if anyone's not, there might be a roving mic. I'm only joking. But okay, 80-90% of the room are sick of this. Is that fair to say? Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic. So that, perfect. We're in the right place, and so are you. So, look, this is about doing really being patient-centric and HCP-centric, actually. They are struggling out there, right? Both sides, all of them are, and it's about us working across the health ecosystem to do something, right? To do something very different. It's about having a rallying cry to stand behind and to share the best practices so that we're all aligned, from industry to academia to research to advocacy to communications and health tech, right? And it makes sense ethically, strategically, and commercially, right? And societally, right? And we say that all the time. That's what we're trying to do. We want to collaborate, to share, right? And to be able to help each other. And it's about those discussions. We talked about trust yesterday, right? We talked about relationships. We talked about truth. This is about action out there to build that and reforge it where it's been lost. And we want to build an environment, right, where we can actually come together. We've got people like MAPS, we've got Next, we've got Faculty of Pharmaceutical Medicine, we've got a number of pharmaceutical companies, we've got health tech companies, and people like us that can help make the comms more impactful and more engaging and more powerful.
To Natasha's point, just bridge the gap.
So, first up, over to you. We can't do it alone. So get your phones out. And if this works, we'll see whether the tech works. Excellent. A Menti poll. So could you just join quickly? And then we'll get on to two big questions that you're going to help us answer. So, everybody in? First up, what's stopping us? Which I hope, yes. What are the barriers you, individually, organizationally, what are the barriers? What are the biggest issues and challenges and things we need to fix? Good. Compliance. Yes, I'm head of compliance for my sins, so glad to see that one coming through. Okay, great. Just hit us. Fantastic. Yeah. Lack of trust. There was a wonderful piece of research that showed from the general public, they ranked pharma companies just between fast food outlets and arms dealers. Yeah, in terms of where they rank organizations.
But you know, what a shame though, in that point, because actually Carmen, a new member to the Baird team, said when she joined, it's if the medical profession knew, and if members of the public knew in terms of the medicines, the things that we do, it's everybody would be happy with it if they needed to take it. And I can certainly feel that. When I had my brain injury, I was really happy to look at research in terms of traumatic brain injuries on mice. It was really easy for me to say, actually, I don't want to look at that when that didn't affect me personally. So all of us in this room work for amazing companies that do amazing things. How do we share and celebrate and tell that story?
Training. Misalignment, yeah? How many siloed functions within your companies does it take for you to actually get things put out there in a personal and professional context?
Tell you what,
Too many, right?
I'm glad I put my contacts in because that's getting so small now. Getting really close to it.
Well, we're going to fix this together. We're going to tackle them, but we're going to prioritize them and we're going to tackle them together. Okay, everybody done on that one? That's plenty, right? And the whole point is these are difficult challenges, right? So we have to look at them methodically and actually see where to focus our efforts. So second question, what are the accelerants, the catalysts, the drivers? What do you need? What do organizations need? What do we need? What are the most important things that we could actually do, provide, or work on that are going to make the biggest difference? I love that, agility. Isn't that an oxymoron in the world of pharma? Patients, absolutely. We can't do this without them. It's for them as much as it is the HCPs. It's an ecosystem play, so very much. Budget is going to take some funding, yeah.
The authority one's an interesting one for me. I think authority from who? Who do we need permission from to do this?
That was my word, because it's coming from a place of authority, but not authority as in power. I come from a power level, but authority as people respect what you say. For example, the big problem with Trump is that he's the president of the US, so what he says has a lot of weight, while if you or me post, we do have our weight, but nowhere close to what Trump has in terms of authority. So it's also how do we build that authority, for example, using the KOLs that we have, but the KOLs also have authority within an academic circle, and again, how can we reach the masses? How can we reach those people in their bedrooms that are on their phone?
I think
watching?
for sure, the people in their bedrooms, that reminds me of a conversation that Vernon and I had over dinner last night in terms of we just let social media into the world, and children and people, but more predominantly children, were just using these phones, unregulated, unchecked, no guidance. Thanks, Yasin. That's really good. Good point.
And that seeding of authority is a really interesting one. We live in a world now of influence and engagement and relationships as much as traditional sense of authority. And actually, we have to be much more progressive and smarter about how we work networks of communicators and channels that can be far more important in terms of relationships and trust than in terms of any traditional metrics of authority. So we have to redefine those. Okay. Any more for any more? You got them in? You comment, please. Quick mic to Carmen. Thank you.
I would just love to add that we lack agility. There's like, if you see an influencer, they usually have to post like every day. They do tons of content to reach out to the people and to get trends. So we're like huge companies with a lot of people. If we start putting content out more frequently, we can gain some territory here. But we're sometimes like not see the urgency of this. Like we have to be really quick, and we have to do it more frequently to create consciousness and to actually shift a little, right?
Comment. I think the key word there is shift, in terms of how do we play a different game. Social media is the attention economy, and we're just, Vernon said, in terms of cycles, we're just generative content in and in and in and in, and we're all clamoring for attention. We can do it a different way, and that's giving each of you, like, we're not even going to get to all of these slides, right, at the end of this presentation in 5 minutes, but all of the slides, all of the resources, all of the things that we were going to talk about will be in that Discord and the Alliance resources, that it's so important that you all put your own spin on it. Because when you chat to your colleagues and your friends and your family, they will listen to you. Your words will have weight. This is just about giving you the resources to be able to do that. So it's a great point, Carmen, and it's a complete different. We're not going to turn you all into influencers, because that is not going to help anybody or anything. I think
all the challenges around content, right? You're not all going to turn into publishers no matter what anybody says. So actually, it's about earned media is the place to actually be about how you sow and seed that. And that's about being really smart and effective with what you do and when you do it, and not contributing to just tons of junk out there. We'll have a quick comment and then we crack on. But go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what was just said. I think as pharmaceutical companies, we need to accept that we need to lose a little bit of control. If we work with influencers on yearly basis, they can do their jobs. We can sponsor them. We can give them guidelines. We can give them guidances that they can follow to bring truth and fact in their media. We don't need to become influencers. There are already influencers that we can work with. We just need to accept that we don't need to approve every material that goes in front that's coming from an influencer. If they follow a guidance or a guideline that we give to them, and they stick to a guideline that we give to them, we don't need to approve this material.
Please. There is a whole community of HCP content creators out there that want to work with industry within guidelines. Loda, if it's quick, please. Yeah.
In 1999, the Health on the Net Alliance was formed in Switzerland with exactly the same goal. because when in 2000 the first public information on health became available, the people who put it on there already realized the risk that you guys so well described. Sadly, that alliance, which was based in Switzerland, had to cease activities in 2023 by lack of interest of industry and participants. So I think it's great that you're trying again, and I'm pointing to the screen, you see two words there, transparency and patient community. I think the transparency is very important. For example, to participate in the Menti, you had to give your data. Where are those data going? What are you going to do? Did I sign up for the poll, or did I sign up for this alliance, or did I sign up for the Havas mailing list or Bayer? I don't know what I signed up for.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
The second one is the patient community. The only way to make this work is with the patients from the beginning.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were dragged into this voting without having an opportunity. Well, you were in or out. You said it many times. You're in or out.
Yeah.
There's no discussion. It's what I propose or nothing else. Look at patient-focused medicines development. They started with patients from the start. A decade later, they're still there. And the last point, you said I had to be brief, is as a doctor, I react allergically to the name because it only reinforces the fact that doctors know everything and they're the truth.
Fair.
And that is exactly the biggest issue in all of this. And I wonder, have you validated this name with the ultimate target group, i.e. the public?
Fantastic comments, fully aligned with all of those, but we'll follow up afterwards in the specifics of those. But thank you for that.
Thanks.
This cannot be without and not with the advocacy and patients, and they can't be with us here today for a number of reasons. But
We've got 90 seconds.
Follow on, as we've got a few things to cover.
What can we do about it? So, firstly, there is no silver bullet, okay? We are not coming here pretending that we have every single solution worked out and proposing to you, do this, this is the way. We believe in democratizing approaches. We believe in critical feedback. We believe in the wisdom of the crowd and the knowledge in this room. The answers are in every single body's head here, okay? So it's a case of coming together, appreciating that there is no silver bullet. And this is a very simple framework from the Alan Turing Institute in terms of counseling, curbing, and correcting. These are three little tools and tips that we can all do. Do we coach the general public into critical thinking to preempt misinformation? Let's look at ourselves honestly. How much of that have we done in COVID, and how much have we done that post-COVID? I would hazard a guess and say we probably haven't. We can curb and we can slow the spread of misinformation, but then perhaps most importantly, we call out false facts and debunk them where we see them, both in our communities, in our WhatsApp groups, in our channels, in our whatever, even if it's having a coffee with somebody and taking the time to listen to their understanding, or to understand their concerns and listen, and then coach them and get them along the way. 5 seconds, sorry.
The AMA has already said that actually tackling misinformation is part and parcel of what it is to be a clinician in the US, right? So counselling, the most important thing we can do is counsel. 70% of HCPs say fundamentally engaging with the public is one of the most important things, and 6 out of 10 patients are asking for media and health literacy training. They teach it in Finnish schools. There's a lot of reasons aspects of the Nordics are living in the future in terms of their education, but they teach critical thinking to teenagers, to how to engage with social media, rather than blanket bans in Australia, which we can discuss the merits and failures of afterwards.
There's also things that we can do ourselves, okay? If attention has been monetized, we can make a conscious choice and decision. What do we interact with? What do we share? Who do we send these things to? Because ultimately, it does have an effect in terms of the business models behind all these publishers online and all these social media companies. I'll let you read the rest of that slide and pass over to Vernon for a couple of nice case studies.
So correcting it. There used to be, in the old world, PR world, you didn't engage with a crisis. In a digital world, that does not work, actually. So correcting it and debunking it, mythbusters. How about providing information, like along with a pill, for pharmacists to talk about the main topics of misinformation in any disease? How about we actually go out there and engage with those influencers? If you haven't seen it, Vaseline It's used for lots of things, some of which is not safe for work, right? But a company that's 100 years old engaged with the community to myth bust how to use Vaseline and how not to use it. It was hugely multi-award winning and massively engaging because it was entertaining and educational. And why don't we, again, engage with the community? This is a lovely example of barbershops doing blood pressure, diabetes screening. They are trusted local communities. It's about grassroots activism, which comes back to the patient engagement and patient voice. And then AI for good, right? Technology that's about fact-checking, right? You can use technology in many ways. We're going to use it for good. So, in essence, we want to provide the available evidence pulled together, and whether that's the white paper or some fantastic resources. We want to build a community, right? So we can actually have the community voices speaking and engaging and participating. And we're going to give you some adaptable content. Make it easy with your voice, your authenticity, your credibility to actually talk about this topic in the way you want to be part of that. And demonstrating your engagement with that, there is the potential to be part of how this gets steered. Yes, there needs to be a steerco with an MOU and a governance model about what the real actions are going to be, and that's going to be multi-sectorial. That's going to be commercial, advocacy, policy, it's going to be patient.
It's going to be
right?
great.
It's going
That's
to be,
what it's going to be.
it's going to be good.
It's going
And
to
we
be
have
amazing.
an awful lot of people to the question, who are we doing this with? Not on our own, not from already, right? So please join if you can, if you will, and we want your recommendations of what good looks like. There's some amazing stuff being done out there. Share it, please, please, please. Join. Let's see where we can take it. It's time to make a difference. And as Liz O'Riordan said, she's a breast surgeon who had cancer and became a lightning rod for dealing with this at scale. Amazing character, doing some amazing work. She's already a partner, right, with us. So this is about harm. And it's about your nearest and dearest. So, please connect.